In 1985, the CEO of Houston Natural Gas, Kenneth Lay, merged the company with Enron, creating Enron. In the early 1990s, due to the federal natural gas deregulation, Enron lost its right to operate its pipelines. Because of this, Lay hired a consulting company, and Jeffrey Skilling was chosen to help. Together, the two devised the idea to become an energy trader and supplier. This meant that they would buy the energy from suppliers, sell it to consumers, and charge a fee. They were essentially the middlemen between the suppliers and consumers to help mitigate the price fluctuations. They would negotiate contracts from the suppliers to give consumers steady prices. Lay was very impressed with Skilling's work, and in 1990 he created Enron Finance Corporation and appointed Skilling as CEO. One of the first things Skilling did was change the accounting technique used to record assets from historical costs to mark-to-market accounting. Historical costs meant that the recorded asset value was that of the original purchase price, whereas in mark-to-market accounting, the value of the asset is determined by current market conditions. In 1992, the SEC approved Skilling's use of the practice. Skilling also changed the company's culture to be only fast profit focused. He created a performance review committee and fired the lowest performing employees. He would end up firing up to 15% of employees every year. In order to reel in the most trades, he looked to hire the best traders from top MBA schools. An important player in the story is one of Skilling's first hires, Andrew Fastow from MBA Kellogg. Fastow would quickly work his way up the ranks to become CFO later on. In 1996, Lay named Skilling COO of Enron. For Enron, business was booming, and they were offering all types of services, energy services, transportation services. Skilling also had the idea to use the same business model for the electricity market. So in 1999, Enron Online was formed. While most of Skilling's business deals were a success, his partnership with Blockbuster to create a broadband telecommunications network was not. It reported a nearly $110 million loss. 2001 was the start of the fall for Enron. Early that year, profits started shrinking rapidly for multiple reasons. Competition started to arise, the global economy was nearing its recession, and the loss of the broadband network only made it worse. Pressure from shareholders to stay profitable encouraged executives to abuse the mark-to-market accounting technique in order to hide those losses. They did this mainly by reporting profits that had never ended up materializing. Andrew Fastow also created special purpose entities to hold assets that were losing value in order to keep them off the financial statements. And in turn, the company would appear more financially stable. Fastow would fund these losses by raising money through the investors of the SPEs in agreement that they would eventually receive Enron stock. Fastow himself managed 2 SPEs and through them paid himself a huge $30 million. As analysts started to question the transparency of the financial statements, Skilling didn't have a good reply and often appeared irritated at the questioning, and the company started to lose favor in the public's eyes. More questions started to rise, and the executives were quickly starting to sell their stock. In February 2001, Lay resigned and Skilling was named CEO. Suspiciously, 6 months later, Skilling resigned and Lay was named CEO once again. In October of the same year, Enron openly recorded nearly $1 billion in loss in assets and $1.2 billion equity reduction. Following this news, the SEC opened an investigation into Fastow's SPEs, and he was fired shortly after. A month later, Enron finally disclosed the fraud they've been committing. Since 1997, Enron executives had been restating their financial statements, hiding roughly $591 million in losses and $628 million in liabilities. On December 2nd, 2001, Enron declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy of $63.4 billion. This was the largest corporate bankruptcy in the U.S. at the time. It also called for huge employee losses. 20,000 employees lost their jobs, $1.2 billion in retirement funds, and $2 million in pension funds had just vanished. What went wrong? Well, almost everything. The environment in Enron was aggressively focused on making huge profits as fast as possible. This put pressure on employees to perform well or lose their jobs. Enron accounting system was ineffective at best. Arthur Andersen was not only the internal audit department, but also did the external auditing. There were no frequent check-ins and no whistleblower system. Because this was an act being committed by the top executives, there really wasn't much that could be helped. In the end, Kenneth Lay and Jeffrey Skilling were found guilty on charges of conspiracy, insider trading, and securities fraud. Lay died while waiting for his sentencing. Andrew Fastow was also pleaded guilty for wire fraud and securities fraud.